What if I told you the way it has always been done is not the best way? Facing your fears will change your life. The passion behind this journey is merging two separate worlds into one with the goal of creating value and awareness for a better life.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode is brought to you by R&R Pipeline, an infrastructure company. Our purpose? Enhancing America's infrastructure with a safety-driven, integrity-led culture that provides an environment for team members to grow and thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with John Wendell, aka Wendell Miller. 9,533 days ago, August 8th of 1998, John Wendell Miller started his journey at R&R Pipeline. Tomorrow will be that 33rd day, that 9,533 days. That is 26 years and 42 days, Mr. Miller.
Jeez.
That is a long, long time, my friend.
It is. It doesn't seem that long. You always want to get to that retirement age, and the next thing you know, you're there. It's been quite the journey.
It's been one heck of a journey for you, my friend.
Yes.
You have seen the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the sideways and backwards and front. I mean, I am so intrigued by the journey that you've had because, I mean, in 1998, the company was only 14 years old at that point.
Yes.
So you've been here longer, almost twice as long, more than what the actual company had been when you started. So
Well, like I said before, when I started, it was they had just moved into the building up there, now known as R&R. They were still moving
this building
stuff
up
in.
here, it was just built up here?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And that's what time it was?
They were still moving stuff in.
I remember that, like the grass strip out front, driving around it, and then there was nowhere to park for years.
Yeah, they just barely had the shop up going. The day I walked in, they were still dragging stuff in.
How, man, there's so many questions I have for you, Wendell, but 1998, what was your salary? How much money were you making in 1998?
That's interesting.
Do you remember?
Yeah. Somewhere in my drawers, believe it or not, folks, I still have my very first paycheck. I don't know why.
I most definitely believe that.
And I'm going to find it. And when I get the final one here, I'm going to put the two and two together.
I'm pretty confident you're the only person that would be at R&R Pipeline today that probably has every generation of T-shirt and hoodie available.
Well, yeah, from start till now, yes. I've got a closet full. Some of them I just held back. I don't know why. You just do that.
How many do you think you have? Different ones?
Huh?
How many different ones do you think there are? 20 or 30?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Some with just, R&R on them. Some of them with the old logo. It was on
Big
the
or
back.
small, we lay it all, right?
Yeah.
The old infamous.
I remember when that come out, that slogan. That's when they had quite a little bit to do with Licking Valley, the football games.
Yeah.
And I can remember that coming across the radio. R&R Pipeline is one of our sponsors. And to this day, it was funny. That's what the announcer said, and big or small, we lay it all, and you could hear him chuckle going, all right, you heard it.
I bet the fans went crazy.
Yeah.
My God. Which is amazing that they actually read it. So that obviously was probably the early 2000s because we're way too politically correct now to even attempt that.
Yeah.
And in all reality, I mean, from a business perspective, whenever me and Cody took over, it was like, okay, we got to go away from that, regardless of our personal opinion, with it. But I remember them hoodies being like a hot commodity whenever you go to the bar.
Oh God, yes.
I mean, I know down south, I mean, we go out to the bar, staying out of town, and everybody would want one of them
You
hoodies.
played it right. You could trade a sweatshirt for a round of beers for everybody.
You could too.
But you didn't hear it from me.
Well, and the funny part is we would have, you know, a night out, and then you would go back the next week or a few weeks later, and you just see the most random people with these hoodies on.
Oh yeah.
And he'd be like, where'd you get that hoodie?
Yeah.
Old John Bob down the bar last week bought me around, and I bought him 3 for a hoodie.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
funny. So 26 years. I was 9 years old when you started here, Wendell. That's a long time ago.
I think hard enough. I can remember seeing you back then. And I do believe it was when you was building your grandpa's house
Yep.
there on
Right off Horns
Horns
Hill.
there.
Yeah. Digging in footers on I think it was that old 401 rubber tire.
Yeah.
Digging the footers in with it, which
Yep.
my wife will kill me for making the statement publicly, but I remember more about areas of pipe I put in the ground, the equipment I was running, the season it was in, the tie-in point, the most intricate details of that, and I can't remember hardly anything else when it comes to life in general on a personal note. It's pretty funny.
Right. Yeah.
You've done a lot in your time here.
Yeah,
lot.
you know, if you back up and you start from day one, I was right off of a family farm.
How old were you
Now,
then,
then, oh,
26 years ago?
yeah, whatever that is, 30 some years old, something like
Yeah.
that.
What are you now?
63.
63, yeah.
Yeah, I had this all figured up, but it just don't stick.
Yeah, it'd be 37.
Yes, that sounds about right.
So you would have been about my age when you started here, because I'm
Yes.
35, yeah. And you came off the farm,
Yes, a family operated dairy farm.
and then you continued to do that for years, correct?
Yes, you know, you figure another, oh God, I don't know, 20 plus years on that, close to 30 on it, because I started out at a very young age being committed to that. And it wasn't a have-to deal. We just sit down because we seen where that adventure was taking us, and we milked 150 cows then. Dad said, you guys can keep on going if you want, but he said you're going to be doing thousands
Every day, twice a day?
every day, twice a day.
All
There
by
was
hand?
no days off.
Yeah, all by hand?
No.
Or do you have it
no, we
automated?
had a double 5 herringbone
Yeah.
where you would milk 5,
Yeah.
prep 5. You was busy for a couple, 3
I'll bet.
hours there.
Yeah.
And, you know, the basic knowledge was learnt from that and how to carry yourself forward,
Uh-huh.
because basically you was the one writing your own paycheck and you didn't dare.
Nobody was going to come do it for you, right?
That's exactly right. So anyway, we had a big talk one day and said, might be time just to get out. Like I said, it wasn't a have-to deal. Dad said, go to town, and you guys are young enough, you might be able to make something of yourself now.
Yeah.
He was behind it. Mom was behind it, you know. So it was quite the experience switching over. You're kind of your own boss out there, but you had to listen in town. And my dad told me, you know, mind your P's and Q's. You're not out here anymore.
Right.
So anyway, we did that. And I don't know the pipeline part of it. I guess probably from a young age, watching the Alaskan pipeline, I thought that would always
Yeah.
be cool to do something like that.
Yeah. Well, the good old quote, nothing finer than a pipeliner, but
Right.
the way we pipeline today is a lot different than 1998, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
We never did massive pipe, though. I mean, probably 20-inch steel would be the biggest. I mean, we still do
Yes.
some casing water line,
Yes.
20-inch, but
Yes.
on the gas side, 20-inch steel is probably the biggest I can remember ever doing. It wouldn't have been large projects unless it was a bid opportunity that we took on, but we still do some water line that big, but it's not much.
Yeah, that, you know, the first week I was here, that's what I was on, was the water line.
And you did it for quite some time, right?
Yes, then the second week, like you said, that big 20-inch deal, they had a small job. Oh God, it was on the other side of Delaware somewhere. Can't remember, but so I got a taste for that there, and I was my dream to be around that.
Yeah.
But anyway, you just got to go with the flow and go as where you is needed. And so we went back to the water line for
A while, right?
a long while.
And you were with Larry McCumbers for years, right?
Yes, and Larry and I, he was a good guy to work with.
Yeah.
I felt him and I got along good. I mean,
I-
average footage a day was 1,000.
That's laughable now.
We would, if we had time at the end of the day, we would wheel out 1,000, be ready for the next day.
String your pipe out and everything, and
Yep. And then if it got to be a little late or whatever, we'd do it in the morning. So, you unloaded and loaded 1,000. So, was kind of our goal over there for a while, was at least that.
right. And probably 2:00 in the afternoon, you'd be right at that mark, and then
Yep.
then the cleanup starts. And
Yep.
I remember in Marengo up 229, my first year in the field, I was 17. I was working on cleanup crew behind Phil to the new Delco station or building that they had down there. And I loved the cleanup crew.
Oh, yeah.
When I was 17, it was fun, but my dream was always to be on equipment. I have videos I'll show you after we get done. I have a video of me at 5 years old running that 490. First time I ever ran it, and my feet are dangling off of the damn thing I can't hit. But that's where my passion was from day one.
So, obviously being a farm boy, you was used to running equipment, but nothing like what I saw out there the
Right.
first week. I was like, boy, what a bunch of cowboys, So anyway, it didn't matter to me if I operated or did labor work, just so I was busy. And most of the time, it was on the water line or whatever, Larry and I, he did all the digging, and I was, the man in the ditch, so to speak. We got along great. It was nice to operate once in a while, but I don't know. I guess it's each to his own. You just got to learn it all. That's all I can tell you is learn it all.
Well, and there's dues to be
Ground up.
paid, right? There's dues to be paid, and it takes way longer than what most people give it credit for. You spend a lot of time with a shovel in your hand before you ever get any opportunity, really, because you got to know when you get the opportunity, you have to know what you're getting it for.
Yeah, that's the only downfall now is everything kind of went to the streets and not so much out in the open country where the worst you could do is tear out a drain tile, and that give a young guy
So much opportunity.
right.
So much.
And now
yeah.
you cannot do that in the city because everybody knows there's stuff in there nobody knows about.
Well, I mean, there's more in the ground that you don't know about than there is that you do know about, I would say. And to your point, the farm fields are not there anymore. There's not very many left in our area for the customers we work for. Then 1,000-foot days now are 1,000-foot weeks.
Yes.
And some weeks them are good weeks when you're in the street and whatnot.
So, you young fellows out there, just give it a chance. You'll have your time.
The best thing that I ever seen was the cross country, like Woodsfield or some of the jobs for Delco. The seat time backfilling is
Yeah.
the perfect way to start.
Well, you're exactly right there. You learn quite a bit.
Well, you learn how to really move the machine, and there's very little opportunity for you to screw anything up, because you're not digging against utility. Now, lo and behold, you always have a guy that compacts too hard over top of a surface or something, but for the most part, it's a good starting point.
Yeah, the backfilling, if you get the opportunity to do that, get on it, just take your time. Don't see if you can be Superman, because it ain't gonna happen.
Especially at the start.
And that's one of life's lessons, just learn it before you get fast.
Well, nobody's born with it between their legs like anything else, so it does take time, and it is very, coordinated driven. You got to be able to use your hands with your eyes, not looking at your hands. You got to have that connection there, and it takes repetition.
Just like you said, but it all magically comes together. Back when I was here, it was all rubber tire, where the luxury of mini tracks come in to play, which makes it a little easier. But I don't know. My preference today still would be on a rubber tire.
A good one.
Yes.
So I learned how to operate on that 490 to some degree, but I really learned on that old John Deere 300. And it wasn't a four lever, it was a two.
Yep.
But the seat was elevated in the back, and it was a loud, obnoxious, beat the piss out of you. I mean, you're almost pissing blood by the end of the day, because it was just, it was borderline obnoxious.
Yeah.
But you learn quick.
Yes, you did. Yes.
What's one of your proudest moments, one of your favorite moments at R&R Pipeline? I mean, you have so many years.
One of the proudest moments. I'd have to back up probably about 3 weeks after I was in here. Your dad led the water line crew, and he was taught me a good little bit on that stuff, and along with others, but he got busy and he said, go build this fitting, do this, do that. And it happened to do with a fire hydrant, which I never even stuck in the ground ever in my life before. And I'm going, okay. He said, I'll be over in a few minutes. Well, that turned into be about a half hour later. But I got her in, and he come over and he said, you know what you're doing? I said, no, but I do now. I said, please come down here and see, check me out. And he did. He come down and he said, damn, for somebody that's never done anything like this, he said, not too bad. The only thing we need to do is straighten it up and kick a little dirt here and there. And I thought, dang, and I probably can take you today to the first one I ever put in the ground.
Where at?
It was up off of Vans Valley Road.
Yep. Right by Galena. I know exactly where you're at.
Yep.
How long did you work on the water line out of that? I mean, you were there for a while. I remember.
Oh, I've worked on and off of there my entire journey here. It's like anything else. It got a little old and asked to be moved, over on the gas for a little bit just to get something a little different. Learned a lot from that, because there were some pretty good old fellas back then that would give you the time of the day to help you out. They might have talked a little gruff, and I'm thinking of who I'm talking about, but
I think that's a generational change.
yes.
It really, when I started, so 2007 is when I started full time, but we had cell phones, but they were not like today.
Yes.
It wasn't a one-stop shop for everything that you can do, and you relied on it for just really calling people if you needed a call, and that was about it. So
phones.
Communication was much different than in person, because it wasn't this thing that you can't hide behind a keyboard. And, today, if today's generation went to 2007, 1987, 1977, your real, era growing up, they would cry within 5 minutes of being on any job site.
Yes.
And I remember getting the piss smacked out of me with a hoe bucket and getting buried and getting spoil dumped on, and I mean, fist fights and beer drinking on trucks or in trucks. And I mean, we did a lot of crazy shit, and that was after the cowboy era really was starting to go away.
Right.
To some degree.
Right. You used to settle your differences and shake hands and go on.
Hell, me and Cody, I can tell you that me and Cody in Rockbridge, I could take you to the place. James was our foreman at the time, and Cody said something. I had just put a big chew in, and we end up fist fighting, and we're on top of a spoil pile right next to the ditch. There's a homeowner outside, and we're beating the piss out of each other. And I'm trying to tell him, like, get off of me because I'm getting ready to puke. I just swallowed my dip. And then James shows up in the truck, and he's just like, what the hell are you guys doing? I get up, and I pretty much puke right there.
Yeah.
It was a very fond memory, of that time.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, blooper moments that were funny.
What's your funniest moment? Do you have one that sticks out?
That's a good one because we were just talking about it this morning, and it was with Randy Perry. Don't get mad at me, old buddy, but it was funny.
So this is a recent one.
On a steel line job, and he had just started. I don't know, maybe he was a month into it. Let's see, old Scott Hogberg was there too.
Huckleberry?
He's going across this pasture field. And they had a 40-foot stick of 6-inch they was carrying in there. I opened the gate. Seen that old bull over there, but didn't think much of it, being around my life. And he's trotting out there behind that piece of pipe, tailing it. And that bull come running 90 mile an hour. He come up and butted the end of that pipe. And old Perry's eyes were the size of a bucket. And he didn't know quite what to do, but if it had been me, I'd have just grabbed that piece of pipe and just, dong the bull. Well, the bull come down the edge of the pipe, and the only thing he did, you just seen this piece of pipe swinging in the air. Him running across the pasture field. Like I said, I had the gate, and everybody hollering, run, run, but in the same time he was laughing. And like I had the gate, and I was going, hurry. I was opening and closing it, like I was going to close it on him before he got. He said it was a good thing. As fast as I was running, I probably went clear through that gate. And, come to find out he was just somebody's pet.
Yeah.
But, yeah, his eyes were, I never will forget that.
That's hilarious.
I think everybody on the whole crew laid down and just busted up.
I remember Mikey Carr, we were doing cleanup, and we were throwing straw off of a trailer. I forget what we were even doing it for, but throwing straw bales off a trailer, and guys were walking behind of us, and they were setting them out, and Mikey wasn't paying attention. He just kept looking away, goofing on. He's a goofball anyways. Yeah. And I told him, Mike, you dumbass, you're gonna get hit with one of these if you don't pay attention. And it wasn't 5 seconds later, Wendell, he's talking shit, turns his head, and I think he had a concussion. He got smacked right inside of the head. And I'm sitting there that's what you get, stupid.
Yep.
I think some of my fondest memories were with James, because him and Burroughs going at it. There were so many people that would get after him, but I'll never forget down in New Matamoros, Route 7, right outside of Marietta, and we were drilling under an inlet to the Ohio River, a big waterway. We drilled out on a Saturday, and we had a locator in the boat with James in there, and there's a guy up on the side of the bank, where the bridge was at, watching. And it was the inspector, a third-party inspector. He took a garden hose that he seen on the side of the road, threw it in that boat, and James thought it was a snake and about jumped out of the boat. And he was so mad, but he's literally on an island on this boat with a string, and that's all he had. And he let go of that string for a minute, and they about went out to sea. My God, there's so many funny memories, though.
Oh, yeah, I run into that first week, too, on a snake with the guy, unloading water lines down through there, and spooked out a big old garter snake about 3 foot long. Old Butch is his name. I don't know if you remember him.
Butch
I
Davis?
had no idea that
Davis? Was that his last name?
I think so.
He drove a semi truck and
Yes.
trailer, yeah.
Yep.
So for the NHRA, I actually seen him. Oh man, Wendell, it's been 10 years ago probably. But
Boy, it's been a long time since
yeah,
I've seen
he was working on that. It might have been the last year that the NHRA came out to Hebron
Yes.
area. But yeah, I remember, but I can see his face right now. I remember him like yesterday. You know, let's talk about the early 2000 era with Germ and Casey and obviously Larry McCumbers came in and Forshee, who's still here. That whole midget mansion, you know, Ben and Ted Lucky.
My God.
Ben Lucky, the preacher that smelled like shit every day.
Okay.
You know, the midget mansion thing is just absolutely comical to me to look at that now because that's the house I grew up in. You know, until I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and then I turned 16. I get a driver's license. And I go back there drinking beer in the garage with the old rednecks. Most of the days I would be going to school hungover, and they'd be going to work hungover. But I had never met a group of guys that were so just good old boy, hardworking, and absolutely fucking insane.
Oh,
They would drink all night, and they never slept. I don't know how they functioned.
Well, this guy did it along with them. And I look back and I go, how did you do that? You would work your tail off all day, you know, starting in on the beer and go till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, get about an hour or two of sleep and get a drink of water to get it off your breath and go back at it. And same thing the next night.
Yeah.
But you guys don't do that today.
No, and for anyone watching this, I most definitely do not recommend
It's like
that
when
lifestyle.
my son was growing up, I said, you're going to hear a lot of wild tales out there about the old man.
These are warning signs.
That's fine. But I said, don't do it today. I said, you'll have your butt thrown in jail quicker. And
Well, that's the thing, you know, whenever you talk about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, today is so much different. And you talk about the food from 10 years ago compared to now. I mean, just that in itself is different, but it was not even, I mean, I remember by the time I was 20 years old, Wendell, and this is no lie, I probably had 20 to 30 times I had been pulled over where I couldn't spell my name drunk. And I was underage, like really underage. I had a couple of nights in the drunk tank, but I never had anything seriously wrong, you know, as far as getting, you know, long sentences or anything. I never had a DUI till I was in my early 20s. And I ended up blowing a .09 of all things. And then, you know, I never even got cited for it in the end of it. So, but my God, if 16 to 20, I should probably still be in jail for all the shit I did. But today I would be. You know, you don't just go do that today.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, there's a little bit of a dark side to me. Maybe I should share it. Maybe I shouldn't.
Hey, this is your story.
You know, along with all of the hell raising, as you want to say it, it got to be a problem with me. You know, the alcohol. Damn near one. And I went to the doctor for a checkup, and he said, don't lie to me. He said, how much are you drinking? I said, no, you know, just a couple a night, you know.
A couple bottles. Yeah.
He said, no, you're not, because I had the blood test says right here, if you don't knock it off, you're not going to be alive in a year.
Yeah.
Your liver's getting destroyed. So I went home and I thought about it, and I quit for a little while, but now I can drink and, you know, have a few beers and be okay with it. But
We've both seen what it does to people.
I don't know. Everybody that's ever been drunk, they know why they do it. It's just to get away from the real world.
Yeah. Trying to escape reality with something
But, you know, and I had a reality check back then as far as, you know, the health and whatever. So I kind of dried it up a little bit. I mean, yeah, still every now and then I gotta see if I can still bale the hay, so to speak. But
Well, you only do it every once in a while because you remember why the next day
yeah,
when you wake up, why you quit.
You quit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I quit drinking beer like 5 years ago, and I'll drink bourbon every once in a while. Maybe vodka, or if it's a tequila, a really good one. I don't need it. It's something I enjoy, but I've seen it become destructive to people that you really care about, and that's where it's hard. Is when someone is unable to control it. It's eye-opening.
You've seen quite a few people that let it get out of control, but I guess I was kind of the wise one that seen what it was doing and backed myself up and got away from it. And like I said, now it's controllable, but before it was just like I didn't give a rat's ass. I'm going to turn on Pink Floyd and play Comfortably Numb, so to speak, and just enjoy it.
You get comfortably numb? Yeah. Yeah, but you nailed it a minute ago, because all it is masking a deeper issue. And whatever it is, everyone has their own problems, but an alcoholics normally, start because of something that it's not the actual issue, it's just
you got to own up to it. You have to own up to it before you can.
You got to face it.
You can deal with it.
Yeah.
And I know there's some guys around here that can vouch for the same thing. You got to own up to it before you can move forward.
Being vulnerable, being self-aware, facing fear, that shit is very uncommon today. And it's just knowing who you are in general is kind of not foreseen. Yeah. Like to admit that you're not good at something in general in today's society. I suck at a lot of shit, Wendell. I'm really bad at a lot of stuff. Yeah. And I know what it is, and I don't like doing it anyway, so I'm not even going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's just how I've decided to live my life. I'm fully aware that I'm really bad at a lot of things and only good at a couple things, but them couple things I'm going to stick with, and that's going to be my thing.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, if you find your niche in life, keep it rolling. Mm-hmm. If you're not good at something, don't give up on it. I mean, eventually you may get it.
If you enjoy to do it. I have
a prime example of that here in the last year or so. It's always been a life dream to learn to play the banjo. And I'll tell you what, it's testing me. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to give up on it because I want to learn it. Am I going to be as fast as some of them? Probably not at my age. But there's people 70 years old that just picked it up for the first time. And I'm going, well, God, if they can do it,
Everything's about repetition. So like what we're doing right now, Wendell, just general communication on a microphone with a camera is me facing one of my biggest fears of my entire life. And I probably never talked about this, but, I have a podcast. I do this frequently now, and I just started it at the end of October last year. When I first started, I was a train wreck, and I'm still not very good at it, but I committed to it because I have a vision I want to make an impact for the greater good of R&R Pipeline and for the up and coming generation and probably my generation of workforce. And like this moment now is something that could be shared to help others, right?
Yes.
And so that's why I started it. But to say that I was good at it would be absolutely bullshit.
Yes.
And to say that I'm good at it now would still be absolute bullshit, but I committed to it. I've done it a lot, so now I'm much better. So it's the repetition part when you want to do something.
Just like you said a few minutes ago, you got to keep after it. There's nothing, remember this, it was my dad or my uncle said, there's only one thing you have to remember. He says, it's nothing but fear itself. And he said, you got to overcome it somehow.
And it's made up.
You might have, my uncle?
No, it's made up, fear. Fear is not something that exists, it's something that we create.
You said a mouthful there, and, it's just like there's not really a boogeyman out there. Get back to the banjo for a second. It's just like you can operate a hoe or a dozer and almost do it with your eyes closed. why in the hell can't you pick them strings and move them fingers up and down?
Right.
You know,
Yep.
because the coordination.
Yeah.
Coordination has a lot to do with life.
Yeah, it does. Repetition, in doing that practice.
And that was one of Big Jim's big favorite words was repetition.
Burroughs?
And then I'll tell you what, if you didn't get it down, he said, it's just like a damn broken record. Dumbass, he said, it's repetition. Over and over and over and over. He said, maybe eventually you'll get it, but
You can get good enough at almost anything in like 20 hours. And this is backed by science where 20 hours of full focused and commitment to anything, you can get really good at it. The hardest part about it, or the biggest setback, is it normally takes 10 years to have 1 hour of time because people just won't go do it. And just taking the leap of faith just to do the thing and taking the action. Talking about something's great, but that's nothing, having this grand vision for something is nothing more than a dream, Wendell. But when you take action and do the thing, it's amazing what you can accomplish when you just take one step at a time, push forward a little bit.
yep, don't get in a hurry.
Yeah.
And if you mess up, regroup.
If you don't mess up, you're not trying hard
Back where
enough.
you did it and try it again
Yeah.
and try it again and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
You'll get it. Everybody develops skills at a different level.
I talk about delayed gratification all the time. And for me, I have an ability to have delayed gratification because of lifting weights. I've lifted weights for almost 20 years now. It's something I'm passionate about. I didn't start out looking the way I do today. I didn't start out being good at it, but 20 years of time is a lot. And now it's just part of who I am. But having delayed gratification and being able to do something really hard today that you will not see any result out of for months, maybe years. Talk about something that is not normal with society today. Delayed gratification, Wendell.
Yes.
Unheard of today.
Yes. A lot of people kind of take life for granted or whatever. But then again, you back up and, I know I can do it. Just go with it. Take your time. You'll get it. Sometimes under the people that were above me back then were a little rougher spoken and
That's a politically
Yes.
correct fucking
but
statement
I'm
if
gonna
I've
tell
ever
you
heard it.
what, you can be slow and get, a good amount out of a guy. This even come from your dad's mouth. He said, I wish he could pick it up. He was telling somebody, I wish he could pick it up a little quicker, It's just like, but then on the other hand, I don't have to go back and check his work either.
And that's the thing, do it right the first time.
Yeah.
It's if you don't have to go back, because when you have to remobilize or anything like that, that's where you really have the time set back. Do it right the first time, don't ever go back.
Yeah.
Remobilizing is detrimental to anything.
That being said, yes, there was a few times we had to go back, but it was something new that he was trying and it didn't quite pan out. And you're going, okay, we won't do that again.
Learn from it. I look at life, it's win or learn, never lose. I don't lose anything. The only loss in my life would be not trying or quitting something. That's it.
Yeah,
Because any failure or setback is nothing more than a learning lesson. Sometimes they're really expensive and painful learning lessons, Wendell, but at the end of it, it's just a learning lesson.
I see a lot of that these days with the younger generation. They act like they're scared to death to try something. Hey, if you screw up, you screw up. You know not to do it the next time, but just don't get yourself in trouble over it. Be safe. And if you're not sure, ask questions.
Well, and we're not saying to go out and intentionally make some dumb mistake. Try, do the
Yeah.
right thing,
Yeah.
but you still got to try. You're never going to know if something works if you don't try it.
People can advise you on one thing, but then again, on the other, you might see, you hate to use this word, but a shortcut that'll get you there a little quicker in the same meanings. You might get away with it. You don't have to take the outer route to get there, as long as it's done right.
Eric Geiger that came here in the summer last year and spoke to everyone, his story, I mean, it sends chills down my spine every time I hear it, because I'm sure you did a lot worse than me just because of the generation, but I remember almost getting buried multiple times and not even laughing about it.
Well,
Yep, about got me on that one, boys. There's nothing funny about that.
that was number one even around here back then was, your trench safety, whatever. I've been pinched a couple times myself. There were some stupid moves that was brought on, but, I never got to the office, but that's okay.
Well, a lot didn't then.
But, you got to know when you can walk that line and when it's not a good time to. And when you fool around with, trench safety and all this,
There's no
don't
use
do
for it.
There's too much available today to keep you out of trouble.
We know better today.
Yes.
20 years ago, we didn't.
Yes.
It was questionable 20 years ago, but it wasn't like a moral decision to do the wrong thing. Because now it is. And Eric Geiger made such a impactful statement where he talks about it being selfish. Because the hoe operator has to dig him out. It might rip his damn skull off. But if he doesn't dig him out, he knows he's dead. But he might kill him getting him. I mean, the way that he relayed that message.
Oh, yeah.
I hope everyone appreciated that, because I know I did.
I seen him speak, I don't know how many years before.
At Columbia
Yes.
and Cambridge.
And he could not talk about parts of it without getting
I know.
choked up.
It was probably 10 years
And when he spoke
ago.
out here, he could get through it, but you knew he was fighting it. And I went up to him and I said, I remember the first time you telling this story, I said, it's a hell of a thing, but you're accepting some of the things that happened to you that everybody knows shouldn't have, but it's nice to see that you're gaining strength back within yourself without, breaking down.
Taking accountability for what he did, because
Right.
he made a mistake and everyone else around him, including himself, suffered dearly for it. But now he's doing something better to help other people.
I'll tell you what, he would be a guy to look up to on something like that. If you've seen him years back and now how he can walk through his speech without choking up. And I'll tell you what, it kind of,
It's an
eye-awakener.
Yeah, it sent chills down my spine the same time it did 10 years ago, this go around. I just put myself in that position because I'd been there. That Friday afternoon shortcut that might cost you your life.
Yep.
And there's no freaking reason for it. Today we
No.
fire people for doing that.
That's what I, just said a few minutes ago. You know when to walk the line and when to get the hell off of it. God give you a brain to think with, use it. If you don't feel good inside, don't do it.
Well, and we know, because we have so much training and recognition and awareness, and we go through this all the time. Talk about repetition. It's something that is repeated daily, weekly, monthly. Everybody knows better now. Like to do something out of neglect today is a blatant disrespect to yourself and your team, your crew members. Because there's no one in here that doesn't know better today. Now before, you might sign a paper that said don't do it every once in a while, and it might get brought up after something happens. But
it's like this, guys. You go ahead and walk that road. And then ask yourself, was it really worth it? Am I going to be able to see my kid's next ball game? Am I going to be able to kiss my wife goodnight? It make you think.
when you put it in perspective, Wendell, it's so ignorant to do the shortcut. And because what's the win? Because today we'll let you go for doing it if we find out. But that's the least of the concern, because if it doesn't go right or according to plan, you might not see your kids again. It's pretty impactful when you frame it that way.
You know, like I said, I got pinched a few times, but it really woke me up, and I'm not trying to jump the story, but I had a heart attack back in 2017 up in Maine on a bear hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew it was coming. I felt a little funny, and I thought, well, I'll just go get a quick shower and wake me up. This was after the day's hunt.
I remember this.
And I was walking across the yard there, and 4 guys that I've hunted with before, and one of them worked here, was his first year up there, old Rex.
Old Rexy.
Anyway, I started walking out through there, and next thing I knew, I just saw, what in the hell? And the old guy of the bunch, so to speak, was a retired policeman. He said, "You look like a damn pine tree falling as tall as you was." And the last thing I remembered, honest to God, was I heard him holler, "Are you okay?" And I could not get it out, no. I was out. And they worked on me for 3.5 minutes. And for the next couple of years when I seen them, nobody would really talk about it. But anyway, they got me revived. And the old policeman said, "Let's roll him over, because sometimes a little jar like that will get it." And what he meant by that, he was ready to start CPR on me. And when he rolled me over, it's just like, you know, what's going on? So they had the squad come, and I said, "I ain't going no damn squad, I'm okay." And I tried to get up, and I thought, well, maybe I better, and tell myself inside. So they got me propped up there, and, you know, I spent the night at the hospital. They took several tests. They come back and said, "You didn't have a stroke, you didn't have this, you didn't have that." Well, that's good. But there's something going on with your heart. We don't know what it is yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Rec, just go back to camp. I said, "Get a good night's sleep. We'll deal with this in the morning." And shit, hell, he went out in the parking lot and slept in the car. You know, and the other 3 or 4 guys up there at camp didn't know what was going on. So anyway, he come in, and I was giving the nurses hell, and I said, "Where's my papers I can sign so I can go home back to Ohio?" And about that time, honest to God, and Rex, I could still see it in his eyes, they got big. I set off every alarm in that county, and I mean, there was nurses and doctors, and here I had another. I never felt it. It was something to do electrical with the heart. They said, "Did you feel that?" "No, you're getting ready to have another one." And
You were there for a couple of weeks, weren't you?
oh God,
Was it longer than that?
it was, yeah, 2 weeks.
I mean, I remember it vividly.
Yeah, so anyway.
Because it took forever for you just to get back to Ohio.
We get through that sticker shock, you know, and of course there are 49 IVs in your arm and this and that, and, you know, telling him to get out of the road, and he's going, "What the hell's going on?" You know. He said, "We're just a small hospital here in Ellsworth, Maine. We're going to send you to the big one up in And I'll tell you what, it was something else. The doctors up there, once they got a hold of me, was phenomenal. Of course, I had scheduled tests, and they was going over this and that, and don't do this, don't do that. I said, Rex, looks like we're going to be here a couple of days. He said, I ain't going no place without you, buddy. He
You
said,
stayed there the whole time,
I've never
too.
been here before. You know, I don't know the territory. But anyway, you know, they started their damn tests and, you know, couldn't find out anything. I said, this is going to be a longer process than what you need to be here. I said, you need to get home. Let me make a few phone calls. So anyway, we got things going, and my son come up. They asked how I was going to get home after all the tests were okay and I stabilized. But I tell you what, it just felt like I was run through a ringer washer backwards 10 times. And I said, well, we're going to rent a car and go home. And they said, no, you're not. You're going to either fly or you're going to stay here because you need to beat ass home. You don't know when the next one's coming.
Well, especially from Maine. You know, what's that, a 15-hour plus drive? And it,
Yes.
no cell phone
it's
service.
16 to 18, and that's no stops.
We went to Vermont, Cody and his family and mine, for an association we're a part of. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. And the only connecting flights into Vermont were Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. All flights got canceled. Mm-hmm. So I have 4-year-old and 1-year-old-ish at the time. All the flights get canceled. Can't even find a hotel room. Barely found a hotel room. No cars to rent. We just happened to find 2 of them. Just complete luck. To say that they were a mid-size SUV would be like putting me in a kid's Tonka truck and driving it for 14 or 15 hours straight. Wendell, if I ever have to do that again.
I know where you're going. Yeah.
Well, the worst part for me was my 1-year-old screamed for 12 hours. My wife and my other daughter both got sick, threw up out the window, I don't know how many times. And I had conference calls scheduled. I had all the stuff scheduled. I couldn't get rescheduled. It was an absolute nightmare. But there's no way you would have been able to come home from that and not just wanted to die anyways. I mean, my God, at that point, that's a long, miserable trip when you're feeling good. But that moment was massively impactful for you. So what have you learned about life in general from that moment? Do you have a new sense or new lease on life?
After the fact, and you get home and you can actually think, and it's still really foggy on some parts of it. I'm going to write a story about it someday and put it in the hunting magazine. Anyhow, you know, I called Mr. Rex when I got back, said, I'm home. He said, I don't know how you are, but I'm glad you're back. And the buddy was Rhode Island. He still calls me about once a month, check on each other. And neither one of them really talked much about it other than it was
Scary.
you hate to say it, it was a brush with death.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And when I did get back and did have time to think about it, I thought, oh boy, you better get a hold of yourself and get healed up here. You know, and after talking to you guys, yes, it was, this following spring before I made it back.
Yeah, it was at least, 6 months?
Yeah.
It was quite
and
a while.
I wasn't expecting that. Of course, everybody's different when they have one of them rascals, but they still can't figure out what triggered it.
You're a
they did
diabetic
get
too,
it-
right?
Huh?
Are you a diabetic?
Yeah.
Still?
That
Or-
had a little bit, but
Yeah.
not as much as everybody thinks.
Right. But since I remember you were quite a bit heavier,
Yeah.
before all that happened.
Oh, yeah, boy.
How much did you lose?
50 pounds in
Yeah.
about that 6 months.
Well, I remember, when you came back, we started talking a lot about nutrition and health and
Oh, yeah.
just awareness in general about it. It's
Yes.
huge.
But the number one thing I learned from that was you never know when. And you better take time out for yourself or some of the finer things in life, whether it's going to a baseball game. Do something you want to do.
You mentioned-
Tomorrow you might not be able to do it.
You mentioned gratitude earlier, and I am not someone that ever lives in the present moment. Majority of my life, gratitude is something that I've been able to discover because I have been able to become in the present moment available presently, not focused on the future and the goals and the drive. And it took me a long time to figure this out. But for 12 years, Wendell, I worked my ass off 7 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever, because I had this goal at 22. At 22, I decided I was going to buy Arner Pipeline by 30.
Yep.
I don't know why, but that was my goal, and I was dead set, and someone was going to kill me before it would not happen. It was either going to be death or accomplishment by 30. And I thought it was going to give me fulfillment. I was missing something. I didn't know what it was. And I thought that's what it was. I had this big, hairy, audacious goal that was just so far out there. The few people that I had actually mentioned it to when I told them laughed at me, and rightfully so. And 2 days after we bought the company, Sunday morning, I woke up thinking I would feel this like ultimate power. This fulfillment is there.
Yeah.
And guess what, Wendell? 12 years for one goal, and 2 days later, I had felt more empty at that moment than I ever had in my entire life. And I didn't know why. But what I realized was I didn't enjoy the process. I wasn't present during the hard times, during the good times, during the bad, the ugly, during the great. I was so focused on an accolade or an accomplishment that I wasn't focused on the journey. And I had what I call destination disease. I didn't find joy in the journey. And so that was 5 years ago in May that we had bought the company. And now, within the last year or two, I've just been able to look deep inside me, face my fears and my ego, put them aside. And now everything that I do, I have a sense of gratitude for because one day it's going to end. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I go work out. It's called the Old School Gym. It's 1960s or 70s era built. It looks like it's from the 1960s still. There's lights there's shit dangling everywhere, but when I go in there, Wendell, about every single morning, I'm normally the first, one or two people there. I have 10 to 15 minutes of just sitting on a bike or stretching or whatever, and I just have gratitude for something new in that building because I know that the gratitude is the present moment and it's a gift. We call gifts presents for a reason. And I never understood this until more recently, but a present is a gift. Well, being present is also a gift. And so being able to be in the moment is, especially today, it's unheard of almost.
Yes. Yeah. When you have, I don't know how else to say this, but a small catastrophe within yourself, as you and as I, it's like, okay, you got to quit taking things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to leave some of it alone because it will heal itself. It's like a blister. Don't mess with it.
Yeah.
Just let it go on its own. Don't try to force it.
So my life motto now, you might be surprised at this. I've always been very persistent and relentless in my pursuit in my entire life. But my life motto is persistent patience. Because I am persistent. I am a fucking dog, Wendell. It's going to be hard for someone to outwork me, but I'm patient with the outcome. Because I've had a lot of things in place that I forced an outcome and screwed it up. But now I'm persistent in my pursuit. I'm patient with the result or the outcome. I know that I can only control my intent. So my good intentions and my effort, being max effort, are the only things that I can control with my persistence. But the outcome is not in my control. So many other factors come into play.
I like to tinker around a little bit with various things, hobbies, whatever, and you're trying to make something just like you are. And I find myself getting stressed out about it, whatever. which I got to quit it, which I did quit it. I'll bet you $1 to a donut. By the way, how was that big donut?
It was phenomenal. So I wasn't even going to try a bite of it, and one bite ended up being half the donut.
Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, how many times is something when you just get relaxed in the middle of the night and it is, hell, there it is right in front of me, and I was overlooking it. I need to get a good night's sleep and try that angle tomorrow.
Back to the basics.
Yep.
There's so many times, Wendell, that I'm seeking out new information. I'm seeking out new this, new that. I need to learn this. I need to learn that. Well, am I doing the basic thing that I know that works? No, I'm not. We get so wrapped up in complexity that the simplicity is ultimately what is the driving force of life. Just like a success habit. We wake up, we take a piss, we brush our teeth.
Yep. Yep.
We brush our teeth every day and our teeth don't fall out, right? Well, that's pretty much the same with anything else in life. If you take care of something, it could still go wrong, but it's preventative maintenance. And creating habits that are good habits are intentional. Bad habits are unintentional, but they're the same exact thing. One just goes downhill and one goes uphill.
Yeah, it's, life itself's a journey, but the journey you two are on, sometimes you just got to separate things, and it's a fact of life. Deal with what you can. The rest will follow. And I don't care. Hell, that racing motorcycles. You know what happens when you push it? You usually end up wrecking.
Yeah. Focus on what you can control.
Yes.
And I've referenced that a few times. I had a gentleman ask me a couple weeks ago when I did an interview. He said, "What are you in control of?" I'm in control of my intention. What is my intent with this thing? Or is my intent good? I can control that. I can control my effort, my attitude. I can't control the outcome. I can't control a lot of things in a lot of scenarios, but I can control being in a good mood, taking the extra effort, having pride in my work. I can control a few things that are ultimately going to determine a big majority of the outcome.
There's an old saying that I don't know if I can repeat it word for word, but there's a lot of truth to it if you think about it. It's, how's it go? God, give me the serenity to deal with things, so to speak, and then give me the strength to deal with things that I can change. It's something like that, but an old friend told me that, and it stuck with me for a long time.
So whenever you pray for strength and you get tested, that's the answer to your prayer.
Yes.
You don't just get strength. You have to be given opportunity to get stronger.
It's there no matter what you do. We're all human. Most of the time we oversee it or overthink it.
Sometimes we don't want to believe it.
No.
It's right in front of us and we know it.
Yeah. You're going, oh, God, dumbass. Right there it was. And you said, no, that won't work, but it did. Remember how you did it? No.
Well, we are, as humans, our own worst enemies sometimes, where we're so damn stubborn and prideful and want to be right that even if we don't think that, deep down it's rooted from something, ego-driven, and then we will not be proven wrong until we have no other defense. Unfortunately, it's a fact of life for a lot of us.
You young whippersnapper, you're catching on, but just what you said is, yep, back her up. It'll come. That's for everybody. But then on the other hand, sometimes you just want to pick up a pile of cow poo and throw it on people just so they'll grow up.
Sometimes?
Well, all the time. But
we talked about fear a little bit ago, and when I think about fear, I think about a self-created obstacle.
Yep.
And
You make it.
anxiety and fear both are just, they're driven by your mental viewpoint of whatever the thing is in front of you. And so when I think of fear, I think of it being from a visual component, depending on what it is, but visually it's miles long. Like if you're faced with this thing right in front of you that you're fearful of or afraid of, it's miles long. And it looks like this big pool of water. It's 100 foot deep. But a lot of the time, Wendell, it's not. A lot of the time, you take one step into that fearful thing and you realize that water is only inches deep. And the miles long that you've seen, it's like being out at sea. You just can't see the end. When you take one step, you start to see a little bit of land. And so it's miles long. It looks so deep, but you take a step quickly and it's not that deep. You might get wet. You might stumble a little bit, but you're not going to drown in a few inches of water.
Yep.
And I think that first step being taken is what sets so many people back, because the longer you wait to take that first step,
Yeah.
the bigger the fear becomes.
Yes. Yeah. You just, next thing you go, now, then how many times you ask yourself, I wish I'd have done it?
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yep.
And, you know, people want what they want out of life. And here's something that I want your opinion on, because people want what they want. And success is individual to me. I think there is an ultimate success factor that's individual. Everybody wants what they want out of life, and not everybody's going to be the same. And no one's really going to want the same exact thing as the next guy. That's okay, though. Like, it's completely normal and fine.
Yeah, it's just like I said a little bit ago. Everybody develops skills, their self at a different level. Yeah, some level, some grasp it pretty good and early on, and others it takes a few minutes. But you know what? You both finish at the finish line at about the same time.
You know, and there's the desire to have certain things. Everybody has different desires in life.
Yes.
And people often, especially this generation now, I deserve this. I deserve this thing I don't have. Well, to me, no, you don't. You're not worthy of having that thing. You don't deserve it. If you think that you deserve it, you would have already earned it. You desire it.
It's like my grandpa said, if you want it, you work for it. And when you work for it, you'll appreciate it more. Nothing's ever free in life.
Back to joy in the journey. Climbing up the mountain is what the ultimate success feels like.
Yep.
And when you understand that it's not the view at the top, it's the climb that ultimately gives you fulfillment.
Oh, yeah.
And when you understand that, it's like you're chasing this end, you're chasing this destination, but when you get there, then what?
I know you've run into this. You know, you talk to somebody that's been around the world and done. My favorite saying is, next time you're on that trip, why don't you stop once in a while and look around and see what you did miss?
I've been very prone to do that in my journey. You know, I've always been chasing something, but I didn't realize that what I was chasing, this external thing that I was chasing, was not fulfillment. It was another void to fill, but it didn't fill it. To me, fulfillment, success is individual, but it's internal also. Because being the owner of R&R Pipeline, the thing that I thought would make me feel like a superhero, this accomplishment was supposed to give me some validation that I was seeking, and it didn't, because it was external and it wasn't internal.
Yes.
The real win was the person I became to be able to accomplish that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, like I said, you know, I come from a family farm, something like what you've got, a business. Only you're liable for, 100 guys plus whatever else. You got to make it go. But on the other hand, it's just, you have to step back and make sure that all your rocks and pebbles are not going to move on you. I mean, we've all made foolish moves. On the farm, if I made a mistake, that was my own fault. And yes, I paid for it all damn winter long,
You got to own it.
You got to own it. You did it. And that's, a hard thing for anybody to do is own up to where they made it, the mistake. And not to cross that bridge again, but if you do it at a different angle.
I would really, I look at it this way, Wendell. Life is a mirror. It's not a window.
Yep.
And if you're always looking out the window for an answer and not looking in the mirror, you're looking in the wrong place. You're never going to find the right answer.
No, because it's too wide open.
The mirror tells you what that answer is. Everything starts with us. We got to own our shit sometimes, and we don't.
Yeah.
Until it's too late or whatever it may be. We are fully responsible for everything we have in life, whether good or bad. It's on us.
That's a mouthful right there, and you're right. But, it's up to the individual to own up to it and see it.
Some people
like
never
they
do.
say, Rome wasn't created in one day, so.
Some people never see it.
No, yeah.
That's tragedy to me.
Oh, drives me nuts too. It's just like, it's right there.
We both know people very well that have been part of this organization at one point or another that have a innate ability to be self-aware, blame the world and their catastrophic destruction of their self, and it's everyone else's fault. Take the credit for the accomplishment, blame others for the failure. I strive to be the opposite.
Yeah.
If the company today, Wendell, is successful, it's because everyone on the team contributed and did their part to get the success there. If we fail, it's on me.
You got to have all the gears moving at the same time. I mean, yes, once in a while you might slip a little bit, but nothing that can't be mended if you approach it right.
What is advice that you would give to younger members of the team today and up and coming generation about what we do and the opportunities that are here?
The younger guys, you've got a long road ahead of you. Only because we were brought up differently in different times of the world and time. They get rid of them damn phones and start playing, tinkering around and seeing what works for you. Pay attention to the ones that are trying to teach you. Yes, you're going to have broken fingernails and bloody knuckles getting there. Don't be scared to try something. At a certain age, you ought to be able to look at something and say, yes, I can perform that task without anybody saying anything. And that means a lot to everybody if you can pick it up and go. Don't be scared. You relate back to that fear thing. Nothing but fear itself. Mm-hmm. Don't let it bother you. You might be a little bit bashful about it, but try it. I mean, give it a poke with your finger and see if it's going to break.
It's okay to be fearful. It's not okay to be afraid.
Oh, no.
Because I'm fearful on certain things frequently, but I'm not afraid of it because I know that fear is going to come and go. But when I'm fearful, I just know it's there and I recognize it. If you try to say that it's not there, then you're just being oblivious to it, but it's there. But I'm in control because it's right here, right now. I'm in control though. It's coming with me the way that I want it to. I'm not going with it. I'm in control of my own fear.
Yep. Just grab it and squeeze the shit out of it and go.
Recognize it, accept it, and just tell fear, you know what? fear, you're coming with me. This is what we're going to do. And you can be in my head all you want, but I'm not listening.
You know, like saying we was brought up different times of life and the way it is today. Actually, I feel sorry for it, but there's nothing I can do about it. It was the way I was brought up, and it was the way you was brought up. You know, back on the farm, or even back in the day, you didn't have to be on the farm, but you was given specific duties at a young age to carry out, and if you didn't, you got your ass busted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when someone asks you to do it or make an attempt at it, make an attempt at it. It's the only way you're going to learn. You got a question? Ask it. Don't be scared. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, us older folks, so to speak, we're here to help you and guide you if we can, if you'll let us. And don't think you know it all, because I don't even know it all.
Well, you mentioned a very powerful thing right there.
I know, and I want that to get across.
Listen with intention to learn, not with intention to respond.
Right. You make what you want out of yourself.
Be present.
Yes, you got to please the boss. I don't know if it's here or if it's at Kroger's. If they see what you're doing, they're going to say, okay, maybe we ought to watch him a little closer and see what we can do for him.
You know, are you being intentional with listening? I'm a very bad listener in certain times, but I've gotten a lot better at it because I recognize it.
Yeah.
But I try to be interested, not interesting. And by framing it that way, I want to learn from someone else. So I have to be paying attention to what they're saying. And even right now, when I'm taking notes, because there's things that there are things that you've said that I will go back and look at, because I know that I can learn from you. And I've been fortunate enough to interview, you know, some people that have been around a long time and done a lot of cool stuff. And today's very different than it was 20, 30 years ago, but
Oh, God, isn't it?
the basics of life are still the same.
Yeah.
We just have
Exactly.
accelerated tools to get us there.
Yeah, it's the basics are there. You got to learn them to go on.
It's like the horse
Yeah,
to a
you-
car.
Yeah, you all got the advantage of, as you call it, I'm not as crazy as everybody thinks I am, and I keep up with times, your AI or whatever. You know, you got more
It's an
going for you
accelerator.
than I did when I was growing up. You know, most of your answers are
They're
right
instant.
there, or at least they may point you toward a good direction. It's not always right. You just got to sort the bullshit from the hayseed and go on.
But with that, you know, we had horses as transportation 120 years ago. Well, then there's a car. We accelerated the pace of travel. Well, then there's planes that came out. We really accelerated it. I can still get to Chicago by foot, but it might take me 6 or 7, 60,
Yep.
I don't know how long, 60 days, well, whatever. It's going to take a long time to walk there. It takes me 54 minutes to get on a plane and get there by plane. It just accelerated it. And AI is no different. You still have to put in the work. You still have to learn the experience in the trade.
You got to
That's
learn.
not going to go away.
You got to learn that system, just like we did when we was at school. We had to learn the ABCs.
Same thing.
You got to get that so you can spell the word.
Mhm.
I mean, although today it's got spell check on it, so
Well, let's not even go down the rabbit hole
Yeah.
of the school system, because we'll be on that one for a while.
No,
I got to get your
You
opinion
know what
on
I'm
this.
trying to say
Oh,
there.
I know. I got to get your opinion on this. Is it easier today or harder today to be successful in this industry compared to 1998? I have my opinion, but I want yours first.
I'm going to say it might be a touch harder right now. on the fact that there's a lot more competition right now than there was back then. And then you got to be a little more mindful on your decisions because of that. Because if you overbid a job, there's this guy back here that's going to pick it up. Back then, it was like, it was almost the complete opposite, I feel. Just for some of the business I did, you know, on the farm or whatever. But yeah, right now I feel it's a little bit more tougher just because of the competition within.
From a business side of it, I would agree. From a field perspective, though, what do you think about the field? To advance from a laborer up, is it harder or easier today?
It's a lot easier today than it was back then, only because.
No one works hard.
Right, well, that,
Yeah.
I mean, good God, you got the world of hydraulics in your hands. These things that you pick your sandwich up and did most of the work.
Yeah. And I think it's easier today for a few reasons, but the main one being there was a abundance of work ethic 20 years ago,
Yes.
but a scarcity of opportunity. And it's reversed today. There's so much opportunity. There's an abundance of opportunity. Unemployment's higher than it's ever been, but there's a scarcity of work ethic because of opportunity not to work and being provided with something that doesn't require work. I think that with today, to start out as a laborer and advance through the company today is easier than it was 20 years ago. The bidding side, the work side of it, the business perspective, it's really difficult because it's not a handshake, go to get it now. It's not, you know, $10 a foot, handshake and go do the work. It's very complex now.
Yeah, you know, like you said, the business part of it is you guys out there in the field, if you had to work with what we had now, when I first started here, you wouldn't even know what it was.
And that's not, and I'm just going to reference this, Wendell, because of understanding it, but respect. You're not a get off my lawn guy. You're not throwing darts at younger generation. It's reality that it was, I mean, everybody was a dog 20 years ago. They worked their ass off. If they didn't, they either got hit with a hoe bucket and sent home or got fired on the spot.
You wanted to stay awake. There was no standing around doing this because you had to be on the stick.
I know there was a lot of times I really wanted to sleep in the truck on the way home.
Oh, God, yeah.
And if I did, I would end up with a concussion because I was eating a windshield.
Yeah, there was a few of them characters around.
Or I was having things put in my face that...
if I have to stay awake going home, so do you. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Father and son duo that were rather large humans were probably the worst, and you know what I'm talking about.
Don't you dare see if you can sneak 20 winks in at lunchtime either, because somebody always had one of them big old long foxtails with grease on it. When you nodded off, they was tickling your nose, and you know what happens when you do this with grease on a foxtail.
It's better than having that grease gun and, you know, that tube going down the back of your pants.
Oh, yeah, that did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we talked about Larry McCumbers earlier, and I thought he was the biggest prick in the world for the longest time.
Who's that?
Larry McCumbers. But I started flagging traffic on Waterline. And
He was a different cat, but...
I think it was Radnor Road. I remember this vividly. I had semis coming through the work zone left. They didn't pay attention to the damn thing. And he told me, finally, he said, Jake, take that sign and just throw it at the windshield. They'll stop then. And it wasn't 2 hours after. I mean, a 18-wheeler come hauling through there, 55 mile an hour, blew right through it. I had to move my stuff out of the way so I didn't get ran over. I threw that damn thing right at him. And I'll tell you what, he pulled over, red hot, and Larry posted up right in front of that man, and that guy sat there and waited on the cops to come to write him a ticket. And I thought Larry was always a prick, but he was actually not. He cared a lot about people. I learned more from him because he was just direct. He was blunt, but he was teaching me lessons and I didn't know it. He never would turn on the heat in the truck at lunch when it was freezing out. I remember sitting there shivering inside the truck.
Yep.
But he did that because you didn't want to get acclimated to the heat and then get back out in the environment again. There were so many little things that he taught me along the way, and I would ask him eventually, like, Larry, why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Did have a peculiar way of getting things across to you.
Yes.
But there you go again, was you paying attention to what he was?
And I was curious. I asked questions.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah, he would
Asking
tell you,
questions is
but
free.
you had to ask. I mean, he wasn't going to give it to you.
Everybody was thought he was so standoffish and you couldn't talk to him, but he really wasn't.
Him and
People were just scared of him because he was intimidating to them.
him and I got along good only because I just hard-headed as he was. And that's why we got along. A lot of people couldn't. But
And I was a young, arrogant loudmouth for a while, and until I, matured a little bit. He didn't respect me, and he shouldn't have respected me. It grew over time. I mean, hell, I was 17 when I started working for him. All I could think about was getting off work.
first become a foreman on the water line, just like all youngins, or young at that particular part of it,
Mm-hmm.
And you know as well as I do, if it wasn't done right, he was out the back of that hoe window down there. And one day I got tired of it because I wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
I said, your job is to motherfucking dig, excuse me.
If I'm not doing
My
it,
job is to watch this, and you watch me because I'll tell you what to do so you get it right.
And if I don't get it right, tell me why, and I'll learn.
Right.
Yeah.
So after that day, it was just like, okay, I'll dig and I'll watch him.
Yeah.
And he'll tell me what's in the road, what's not in the road, how deep I am, blah, blah, blah. And after we got on the same wavelength, there's where your 1,000 foot come in, because it's, in other words, what I'm trying to say is we had each other's back.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen today.
And
There's
that's a
too much
shame.
going behind somebody.
Yeah. Criticism, confrontation are just part of the day to day. If you can't have a good, constructive criticism type of conversation and say things that are not, I'm not insulting somebody. I'm talking about the discrepancy of the thing that wasn't done.
Yes.
So, if Wendell's supposed to if you're supposed to show up Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock and you show up at 8:15 3 days, I'm not saying, Wendell, you're a dumbass, you didn't show up on time. No, Wendell, you're supposed to be here at 8 and you didn't get here till 8:15 on 3 days. Let's talk about what happened.
Yep.
You're talking about the discrepancy and what was supposed to happen that was mutually agreed upon. And it's not insulting. It's just a reality. But it becomes so hypersensitive on certain things.
You younger guys, like I said, I don't understand your process. And I'm going to be right front with it. It sucks. Back then you got your hind end chewed out for a good reason. Now if you do it, it's called I hurt your feelings. Now you take that, I hurt my feelings, and think about it. What could I have done to keep that from happening?
If your feelings are hurt, whose fault is it? It's yours.
That's what I'm trying to get across. I'm not going to spell it out for you. Come on, God give you a brain to think with.
If you're insulted and your feelings are hurt, there's a couple things that can happen, or reasons why it happens. It's either true, and you're not taking responsibility for it, or you're just completely soft and are thinking something that's not real.
Think about this. It's too easy to quit, but if you can get back and throw dirt back, that's what'll make you. Mm-hmm. I talk a little gruff with the guys, but I do it on purpose. I just want a reaction.
If
Let's
someone,
see what you're made of.
If someone cannot take criticism in stride and just move forward or give it back, you're not going to get very far.
Well,
you're pretty damn soft.
The only thing I'm looking for is screw you. And I'll bet you if you tell me that, I'm going to smile from ear to ear because that's all I wanted out of you. And I think you can vouch for that.
Being insulted and being able to smile about it and walk away is a complete
That's all I wanted.
because if someone insults you, it's normally saying more about that person that's insulting you than it is about you. They're insulting you because of something up here on them. And another thing that I've always, if I go ask someone for advice, I'm going to listen. I'm going to take their criticism, at heart. But Wendell, I can tell you that I'm criticized all the time. And if I'm criticized by someone that's not in a position I want to go to or not in a position I desire to be in, I don't really give a fuck. Because it's not doing anything for me to care.
No.
Now, if I did something wrong and it's acknowledged, sure. But if someone is just being a critic, I got nothing for you. It's going to impact that person more than it's going to impact me because I'm not even going to wear any of that weight. It's going to deflect right off me a lot of the time. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, probably of all time, is the Man in the Arena quote. It's one of my favorites. It always has been. I've always been a huge fan of this quote because I try to never criticize anyone in general. I'll give feedback if asked for, but if I'm criticizing somebody, I have to be very careful on what I'm criticizing and why I'm criticizing it. A lot of criticism comes more from personal regret or inaction and not being in the arena than it does anything else. A lot of criticism is not a place of good, it's a place of fear from someone else. If someone's criticizing you for something you're doing, but they failed to ever attempt to do it, it's a direct reflection of them, not you.
There's all kind of quotes out there. I like that one. And there's many that I can't recite without looking them up, but it seems like you always relate back to them some way or another, right?
Mm-hmm. I think The Man in the Arena is probably my favorite. I would say that's probably my favorite. I'll find it here real quick, Wendell, and I'll read it for us just because
There was one Roosevelt put out too.
This is Roosevelt, The Man in the Arena is. I don't know. I'll read it to you. The man in the arena. It is not the critic who counts.
That's it.
Not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. My favorite quote.
It's the one I was.
So it's actually the background on my phone, and it has been for years.
Yep.
My favorite quote. And just like any other journey in life, Wendell,
you got to look at it to revive, don't you?
You got to get in the arena.
Yep.
So you're in the arena after tomorrow. Tomorrow's doomsday.
Yep.
What's next? What's next for Wendell?
Everybody's asked that. Like I said, it's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new arena.
You don't ever get bored.
And it's just like, okay, what challenges do you want to face that you couldn't before? You didn't have the time to. Mm-hmm. There's a list of them. Just take one day at a time. I really don't have what you would say somebody to answer to now. Well, other than her, but that's minor. Oh yeah, it's going to be.
It's got to be exciting.
To be honest with you, there you go. It's fear, but fear itself. It's a little bit fearful. Are
Sure.
you going to make it? Sure, you're going to make it. It's just going to be a different way of making it. Yes, you don't have that paycheck every 2 weeks. It's once a month now. You got to regroup and get that going. In other words, I'm just going to slow down and enjoy it. I'm going back and see them things that I didn't see.
It's a gift. Be present. It's a gift.
I'm going back and I'm going to see them.
You've worked your whole life for this, Wendell.
Right. You know, you young guys, it'll be here quicker than what you think.
There's no doubt.
Same for you.
I'm seeing it all the time. My daughters are growing right before my eyes, and every time I go home, it's like, holy shit.
Well, that's like my son. He's be 34, I think, this December.
He's almost
And
the
it's
age
like I
that
told
you
him
were when
the
you
other
started
day, I
here.
turned around, we was having a conversation, and you know them things that just make you go, you know, you get that cold chill. And I looked him in the eye and I said, the last time you and I ever really sit down and had fun or talked was when you was this tall, and look at you now. I'm going to share a picture with you. And I want every guy out there that's got a kid, I don't care if it's a mother or a daughter, of what I just said, and it's, may I do it?
It does go fast.
It goes way too fast.
And you know what makes it go faster, Wendell, is not appreciating it. Because there's such a blind spot there if you're not
Yes.
present in the moment.
Yes. I got so many, but this one, you know, every now and then on your Facebook, it'll bring back a memory. And boy, when that one popped up, it was just like, it hung home. Hang on there, folks. I'm learning. It's like everything else in life. I'm not up to speed like you youngins.
I've always been the youngin', Wendell, and I'm not really the youngin' anymore. It's kind of,
Yeah.
it's
Probably,
tables are
I don't
turning.
know where it is. I got shit head for myself. You ever do that?
Oh yeah. Put something, anytime I ever tried to organize something.
This is something I'm going to do too. I'm going to get in this thing and I'm going to start putting them where they belong, so we don't have to go through this if we ever have another one of these.
Well, while you're searching, Wendell, I want to show you a picture. You're going to recognize this dozer. And you're probably barely going to recognize, well, I don't think you'll recognize the person on it. So you see that dozer right there? The old 650.
It's hiding his face. Is that Papa?
Who's that young man right there? That's me.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I didn't know you that young, but you know, after a while, you can identify somebody's by a part of their body, and I recognized your dad's hands
Yeah.
because, yep,
That's the same dozer with me and my daughter
Yep.
a few years ago.
there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I forgot about that original moment, but whenever I had found that picture, it meant something to me. Now I got one more for you that you're really going to appreciate. You may or may not have known me at this point. This is right before I think you started, but, you know, 6-year-old version of me is a lot like the 35-year-old version, I guess, to some degree. I had a passion for running equipment, Wendell. That was why I wanted to be a pipeliner to begin with, was
Yeah.
heavy equipment, because that's all that I knew.
See, everybody's got why they want to do it. I mean,
That's what it was all about. It transformed from that moment on, but, you know, this is me in 1995.
yep.
Running the old
Oh, yeah.
490. With a mullet and a John Deere hat, I can't touch the floorboards.
490. Looked real good there. Boy.
I remember you coming to pick that thing up down south, and it had snakes all up in the cab of it. You remember that?
Yes, that was probably one of the luxury jobs I really enjoyed too, was being you guys' truck driver.
I remember in Pomeroy, you came down with the drop deck, and you loaded so much shit on that. You could not have taken a cigarette and thrown it from one side to the other without it coming back at you. I remember that like vividly. You had a process, very methodical, and you just knew how it needed to be. And you would put 10 gallons of shit in a 2-gallon bucket. There was no wasted space.
Everybody asks me, because I'll give them heck on how they're latching stuff down and this and that. Yeah, I done it for a number of years, but you know where I learned it from? When you're in that truck going down the road, Mr. Kokozin comes up by and you look at how he's got things, and they're playing by the rules.
Stay hungry, stay curious.
And I'm going, okay. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, it was a lot easier doing it than, wrapping around this, throwing it over that. And
yeah.
If you knowed me when I was doing that, I usually wouldn't let anybody else help me latch something down. And
it's on you,
We're
ultimately.
just helping you. I said, I appreciate the help, but as long as I do it, I know all 6 of them binders are at the right tension and that they are hooked, because I'll check it.
I learned a very valuable lesson driving down 70 one day on my way to Senecaville. I had it was truck 18 with a move-out trailer behind of it. I had a 2-inch ball, and there was a 2 5/16 hitch. Wendell, you should have seen the look on everyone's face on how easy that thing was hooked up. I backed the truck up, guys hop out, they hook up the trailer. I said, hey, make sure that hitch and that ball size are the right combo. Because if not, that 2-inch ball and that 2 5/16 hitch, it will pop off of there. Well, they found out the hard way, and so did I, going about 80 mile an hour, down 70, right where the Zanesville Pottery Barn building is, hit one of them bridges, and right where they transitioned, that thing popped right off there. And if it wasn't for the chains hooked to the truck, a state trooper would have ate that trailer for breakfast. By God, I about shit my pants. I was very lucky. I'll say that.
Knock on wood. All them years I did it, never had anything quite that crazy happen. But like you, I seen it happen, and I was with Mr. Jason Knoll.
Oh, God,
coming back from a job, and here's this trailer behind this guy going like that. I said, just stay away from him. Don't even try to pass that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even know it. The guy is pulling it till I pass him. I said, boys, did we learn a lesson there?
Well, knowing the person you just mentioned, probably not.
Yeah, double check your everything.
Everything, yeah.
If not, go back the third time.
Yeah. Wendell, 9,533 days, my friend. 26 years and 42 days.
That's a long time, but you guys keep at it. You'll have more than I will.
Well,
at one spot. I
will say this. This is home for you. You're always welcome back.
I know that. I mean, who doesn't mouth off to themselves? But, all in all, you guys have treated me square, and I hope I've treated you square.
Yes, sir. You're family to me, Wendell.
You're there. If you need something or want something, you just got to ask for it. Don't expect it to be handed to you. Don't ever expect that.
Absolutely.
And that goes...
That's anything in life.
Pay raises, whatever. You just keep at it. They'll notice you. Nothing ever happens as fast as you want, but you'll get it.
The timeline is not in your control, but...
Never asked for a pay raise around here. I'm going, it'd be nice, but maybe one day they'll recognize. Well, they will.
Mm-hmm.
They will.
Yeah.
And it's from the guys out in the field that'll help you too.
I'll
They'll
tell
say,
you.
hey, he's doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've seen a lot in my 17 years or whatever it's been, but I've known you from day one, really. I remember you dropping booster stations off. I mean, I have a lot of very distinct memories of Wendell Miller, W.D. Wendell. I mean, we've had so many damn names.
Oh God, I've been called a lot of names. When I was in school, it was Big W because I'd have probably made a cage fighter, but I just didn't have the attitude for it. And there were several times, you know, when you get to a certain age where you get out and play, you know, you get in some predicaments you didn't want, but they would always, I used to be good about grabbing somebody by the shirt and setting them up on the bar and say, not him.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where that one come in. And then I think it was Mr. Green, he changed that all around and called it WW. That's when I was on the road all the time. And everybody goes, why are you calling him that? Is it, you know, World Wide Web or what? And he said, no. He said, every time I need him, where's Wendell?
Mm-hmm.
And then Wendell Mart pops in, so.
Wendell Mart, that's a good closing note. The infamous Wendell Mart, self-proclaimed Wendell Mart. And I remember when you had that sign up there, and you thought we were going to take it down. There was no way in hell. It was too perfect, Wendell. It's something that.
Them guys on the outside's the one that got that started. You've heard me tell you that, but it just, I don't know. They still to this day, we're going to Wendell Mart shop.
Yeah, well, it's just too fitting. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see it ever coming down. That's going to be your lasting reminder. As long as you come back and visit every once in a while. But I'll tell you what, Wendell, don't tell anybody this, but when you do come back, bring some of that. We can make that a...
You know, I got one I made this summer, and I tell you what, oh my God. I'll have to wait till next year to reproduce it when the blackberries are...
That's what you're...
This was just a trial on there.
Yeah, you were telling me about it. We had some massive blackberries at our house, and they did not go but maybe 8 hours, and they were all ate. They were gone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some of them were golf ball size or bigger.
And
They're huge.
Sweet this year, and I don't know how as dry as it was.
I know, same here. Yeah. Wendell, this has been a pleasure. My friend, my teammate for so long, family member is what I really view you as. I appreciate your hard work, the pride that you took in it for so many years, your outlook on life, the gratitude that you had, the put your arm around a young man like myself and just every once in a while say, hey, young stubborn prick, shut up, hear me for a minute.
Yeah, well,
I always appreciated it, even if I never said it. I'm saying it now.
I've kind of, maybe not in that words to some of them, but I don't know if they were listening to what I was trying to say. Maybe they were. You guys will know that answer
I would
down
say,
the road.
Yeah. I would say you're always heard, but whether people really are listening or not, I don't know.
Well, I think we have an older gentleman. I think you know who I'm talking about. In the last couple of days, the answers were there, but you just weren't listening.
Sometimes it's just right in front of you.
Well,
It
was.
hit you right in the face if you
It
look.
was.
Yeah.
Why would I want to tell you? That's not the game.
Yeah.
If I wanted you to know, I'd have grabbed your little hand and said, come on, little boy, let's go.
Let me put your training wheels back on and take you there.
Yeah. But it's all fun and games. I mean, there's a place for it. As long as nobody gets hurt. And, you know, this particular game, I made sure that it wasn't put in a place that nobody would really get in trouble if it did get found.
Yeah.
So, you know, good luck to you all.
Been a hell of a ride, Wendell. Ride of a lifetime, my friend.
It has been, and it's been too fast. You know, you hate to say this, but the only thing you got looking forward to is in the newspaper. I'm not looking for it.
Wendell, there is an old saying that,
I don't want, to be read in the tribune. Oh, yeah, I worked with him. If I see you out there, I'll let you know.
the old saying, you only live once. I disagree. You only die once, but
Right.
you live every day.
You live
and every
every
day
day.
that you live is a blessing. And like we started with,
The heart attack's what woke me up to that. It's just like, okay, who can I piss off today?
being present in the moment.
Yeah.
I truly, from the bottom of my heart, hope you enjoy this next chapter of your life. I know you will, but I wish you the best of luck in
I
every
know that
aspect.
Tomorrow is kind of a farewell, but
It's a see you later, Wendell. It's not a goodbye.
it's not a final farewell. You'll hear from me.
It's a see you later.
You'll hear from me.
Because I promise, even before this year's out, I'm sure we'll be seeing you later.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a goodbye.
Yeah, it's not. As far as I'm concerned, when you say that, that's the end of it. It's always bye in my book, not goodbye. A goodbye is when they close the
That's
coffin on you.
That's the final nail.
Yep.
Well, there will never be a moment in my life where I have a goodbye because I will be dead before that happens, And so it's a see you later to me because I plan on seeing
yeah.
John Wendell Miller, a.k.a. Wendell Mart, again, and probably in 2024 even after tomorrow.
I still hear stuff from, back in the school days about things, and I'm probably going to hear about this place in the next several years. Yeah, I'm getting up there. It's time to chill out, but it's all up to what the body says, and I'm going to start listening to it.
Well, you better because you only got one.
That's right. And don't you never think you got two, because it don't work that way.
You wouldn't take your truck and drive it with no oil in it. You maintenance your truck, you maintenance your car.
Maintenance yourself.
Maintenance yourself, my friend.
I mean, I should have done a little better job maybe, but
better
who
late,
knows?
better late
Do
than
I
never.
regret anything? Hell no. Would I
can't.
ever do it over? Maybe.
I tell you what, Wendell, I cannot think of too many periods of life that I would go back and redo knowing what I know today. I wouldn't survive that shit again. I know better now. I was too naive and dumb.
Well, you know what gets you in trouble, and you know what part of it was fun. That part would, I don't know. Hell no. You had your shot at it. You either made it or you blowed it.
Yep. Wendell, absolute honor to sit down with you today. I cannot thank you enough for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I consider you family, like I said, and you always got a home here at R&R Pipeline.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, I hope what short time I had here fulfilled what you wanted out of me. So the only reason I'm saying short because
It feels short now, doesn't it?
it is.
Yeah.
I don't care if you worked there, like some people I know, 145 years and still going, but well, I tell you what, if I was in his shoes, I'd be home and enjoying it.
Yeah. All right, Wendell, let's wrap it up. I appreciate you. I really do. You're family to me, my friend.
Yes.
And you always got a home here, especially
Oh, I
when
know
you're
that.
when you're cooking
I know
donuts.
that.
Because them damn things are unreal good.
Yes. Yes.
So, John Wendell Miller, 9,533 days of just high performance, elite human from a personal standpoint, like a father figure to me, my friend. I appreciate everything you've ever done for me, everything you've done for our pipeline. And
You're never done. I know that. I'm not going to be done when I leave here tomorrow. There's always, but I give it my best shot, man.
well, you're always welcome back. And if that means coming in and smoking a cigar with me and Cody every once in a while, or a glass of bourbon,
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to smoke a cigar tomorrow on the way out the driveway. I'm
Smoke
going
one
to go
of-
to the cigar shop.
we'll
and I'm
smoke one out here. I'll smoke one with you.
All right. All right.
Yeah, that's not hard at all.
God, it's been a long time since I, well,
Tomorrow's not
last year, bear camp, because then we'll leave. This is my brother's saying, but it never sticks that long. He likes his scotch. I don't care for it. You got to develop a taste. But anyway,
I agree.
He says, the only thing I want to hear from you boys when you text me is boom, scotch, cigar. He said, I know you got it. And he said, I got the scotch and the cigar to smoke when you get what you're after. Well, you know how long that lasts? Just the first day, because he's already got the bottle open, drinking out of it, smoking a cigar. Where's your bear? He said, well, I bought the damn shit so I can do whatever I want.
I love it. I love it. Wendell Miller, thank you very much, my
Thank
friend.
you.
This has been great. It's been an honor to do this.
I don't know if anything I said would get to any of you guys, but just view it with an open mind, just like you would life.
Yep.
Don't shut out anything.
A lot of wisdom that came out here today from you, Wendell.
Well, I don't know if it's wisdom or bullshit, but either way,
It's something either way. I don't know if it is either one or not, but until you try it, you don't know.
that's what I've
Sometimes
been trying to
wisdom
get
is bullshit.
across. Try,
Yeah.
try.
All right. WW,
Yeah.
WD, Wendell Mart, John Wendell,
Yeah,
Mr. Miller, John Wendell Miller. Thank
Yep.
you. Appreciate it.
thank you, Mr. Emery.
This episode is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. For all your supplement needs, go to maxeffortmuscle.com.